Well, hello and welcome to Yellow Flag FPL, the podcast where all of our opinions should be yellow flagged. My name is Harry.
And I'm Stephen Berry.
And it's been a interesting game week to say the least. Lots of low scores out there. I'm not sure where the average will be settling as we're recording this just after Tottenham have managed to scramble a win away at Palace, which I never saw coming, even having 2 goals disallowed for Richarlison as well. So I'm feeling a bit happy, but my team hasn't done too well. So it's a mixed bag to say the least, Stephen. But before I rant about that, tell us, how has your team gone?
I've had a great week. 75 points. I captain Haaland, and if you have a good week, you want a good week plus Haaland not to do anything, even though I captained him. But no, it went very well. Bench boosted. I had Dubravka on my bench. He got 11 points. I also am the
Yes,
one rogue agent who had Patrick Dorgu. We spoke about him. We said bring him in, and then
we did.
to watch him score that magnificent goal and get 17 points. Very happy with that. Wasn't a perfect bench boost. Potts on the bench. I got 11 defcons, so nothing. Tior,
Mm.
9 defcons, so got nothing. So it wasn't perfect. Timber didn't play either as well, which is quite frustrating. But Arsenal conceded, so it's not too bad. No, so overall,
Mhm.
can't really complain with my week this week. Up to I've gone down to a million places, I think, 1.5 million places, something like that. So overall, pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, we can cover off the Arsenal defence a bit later, but seeing as it seems the Lord has giveth and of Gabriel coming off the bench, and the Lord have taken away in the
Yes.
form of Calafiore and Timber. Very unlucky. But before we go into that, my game week has not been as fabulous. It seems to me that whenever you do well, I do poorly, and the same is
Mm.
the other way round. So I got 43 points. I'm not getting any bonuses from Gahey, obviously. So really disappointed with the defence. Rodgers probably should have got an assist in the Chelsea game, but because of the deflection, it didn't happen. Semenyo's goal for 9 points. Calvert Lewin scoring. I brought him in. Ekatike getting an assist as well, and Saka just doing Saka things, I suppose. I am in the top million now currently, but I think I'll be around the 700,000th, which is less than ideal. But when I look on Twitter, I can see that Ben Krellin, the master of spreadsheets in FPL, he got 33, so I'm not feeling that bad. If a master like that isn't doing too well, it's okay. But Stephen, why don't we crack on into the games? Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, speaking of people not doing well, let's talk about West Ham. It was a must-win game,
Indeed,
and they
it
lost.
was.
Are they 5 points away from Forest now? I'm not going to talk about Forest City too much, but long story short, Forest played well in that game. Unlucky, really, to lose that game. That Fulham battered would be a bit harsh, but I'm sorry, Fulham are not a good team. I know they're 10th now, but they've had a very easy run. West Ham just didn't look like doing anything. They had that one Bowen chance, I believe, on their counter attack, but West Ham just looked very, very, very poor. Jared Bowen was obviously a very popular pick because of their run. I'm actually not sure. Basically, I think if you can't beat Fulham at home, I know there's the fact that, playing at West Ham is more difficult. I actually think it's probably the other way around, where I just can't see them really scoring. Bowen will get something, but if you basically, I think it's hard to find the clean sheet teams given that Arsenal and City are now conceding. The other way of looking at it from an FPL perspective is have defenders playing West Ham. I don't think they're going to concede too many. They will obviously concede and lose games. But yeah, I think really target their pretty toothless attack. Bowen's a very good player, but he's just not getting a lot of support. And West Ham, you could just see why their heads deflated. That was a must-win game. They lost it. I think they know what's coming for them for the end of the season, unless someone like a Bournemouth really, really drops off. And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I just can't see them scoring, and I can't see them winning anytime soon. So, I mean, obviously target Wolves and target other teams, but like really target West Ham in particular. Have defenders playing West Ham. You got to remember, all the defender needs to do is get a goal. Like Dor, who got 17 points, he could do a goal, clean sheet, left on, that's 17 points. That's the same as what Erling Haaland
Mm.
gets if he gets a hat trick. So very much have defenders playing West Ham, because if they get lucky and get a goal or even an assist, you're going to get a very big haul from that person.
Yeah, it's not looking very hopeful for West Ham fans, and I did see a couple of free hit teams with Jared Bowen in, and I get it, but Fulham are not. We've talked about Fulham in different levels, but when they need to win, they do win and they do well. But having said that, West Ham do have a pretty nice run coming up. It's the run that they need to go on if they're going to have any chance of getting out of this. And it's Brighton at home, Wolves away, Forest at home, Spurs away, Sunderland at home, Chelsea away, Burnley away. And that takes up to February. Now, in that they've got three other relegation candidates, and they need to get 9 points from those games. Otherwise they're done. I think from a defensive perspective, though, I do like Potts. I know you put him on your bench. I do like him. He's a cheap midfielder. He gets defcons.
Yeah.
He's a decent player. West Ham boy through and through as well. So I wouldn't be adverse if I was owning him, but I don't think it's by any. If you were owning Bowen outside of a free hit, would you sell him now? Given that there are lots of other forwards that we don't
I
want
would
to
get
talk
rid of
about.
Bowen because he's yeah, I'd get rid of Bowen because he is so expensive, especially as you'd want Ekatike, you might want an Ollie Watkins. Else we
Yeah,
mentioned,
sure.
and he just needs to have his place threatened, and he does the business basically. He doesn't like being comfortable, so I think Bowen,
Hmm.
one, because of his price, and two, taking up a slot. I mean, yeah, the run does
Hmm.
sound good, but I don't think they're going to do anything. I think Brighton are going to they're actually unlucky against Arsenal, not to get more. They scored that ludicrous own goal from Rutter. It was a great finish actually from Rutter, but I don't know what was going through his
Yeah.
head. It was absolutely.
Yeah, the manager alluded to that, saying, "What roles do we play on the pitch?" Basically saying, "Why the hell was Rutter marking the front post? It's not his position."
They've got, I mean, Nuno, and then they've got obviously Forest coming down.
Yeah.
I mean, we know we've said this before about West Ham playing at home. That doesn't help them. They don't want to be playing Forest at home. They want to be having that game at City Ground, really. They've got Wolves away, at least. That's something. But what if they don't win that game? What
Hmm.
if Wolves win that game or even get a point? It's not completely impossible. Um, yeah, I
Yeah,
think
true.
have basically target West Ham, but more specifically from an FPL perspective. If you have a defender, they're very interesting. Plus, I think also they could be a good captaincy option. As they just need to have a clean sheet, and you've got 6 points anyway. Probably get some defcons. All of a sudden, that's eight, and if they get lucky with an assist and a goal, you've got a really big haul coming your way. So that would be my advice. I mean, you've got like a Van Heck, for example, next week. He's an absolute
Hmm.
must against West Ham and potential captaincy option.
Yeah, well, that would be on the road captaincy side. And then to talk about Harry Wilson, obviously he had a bit of a run for a while, got quite a few returns, double-digit returns in some cases. He had a very good fixture run as well, and I think a lot of people bought him in for that. Do you think that train has left the station, or is it worth investing again? For anyone that doesn't know, because he's 5.8 million, he's 18% owned. Um, I think once you approach the 6 million mark, he might be a bit too much. But what do you think? Is he worth an invest?
Yeah, I do think that does. I think you summarized it quite well. That does sound like points chasing, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
Granit Xhaka is cheaper. Tavernier at Bournemouth, Minte's 6 million. Cullen Burnley's injured, but he's five. Reinder's got a goal, obviously. Um, no. I think there's too many other better options around that price range for midfielders. I would say there's at least two, but I'd rather have Xhaka or Reindeers over Harry Wilson. Fair play to those who had him in for that magnificent run. Cardiff FPL must be absolutely flying. But no, I think as you said
Mhm.
that ship has very much sailed with Harry Wilson. If you need a cheap midfielder, Xhaka or Minter or Rangers would be much better shouts.
Yeah, maybe even Anderson, I think, as well, is also not a bad shout for the Defcons
Mm.
at Forest. But we also talked about Tavernier. Tavernier is also interesting, 5.6 million, and he's up there in the top 10 for midfielders. So, yeah, I think that's worth a look at. But let's move on, and we will talk probably about a game that I was quite interested in, and that's Leeds Sunderland. I think it was quite an old school game in a lot of ways. DCL playing a sort of Brexit number nine role, but playing it to perfection, and Ballard trying to muscle him off the ball, and then just a piece of magic from Xhaka to get that ball through to Adingra, who's obviously playing a bit now, but given that a lot of the Sunderland players are off with AFCON. I think it was a really interesting game. 1-1, I think a fair result. Leeds looked very comfortable for large spells of that. I do think Adingra was lucky not to get sent off. There's a challenge he made on Rondon, who then later came off injured because he wasn't able to shake it. And he rolls his ankle right over Rondon. And I think it's a bit of a nasty challenge, so it's a bit unlucky there. So yeah, Rondon owners, I would look for injury news on that one, because I do think that it could be quite a nasty one. But the other thing I mentioned as well about Adingra is he is starting every game, given that Tibali is off to AFCON with Tunisia, and he's playing well. He really is dominating that side. We've always thought he was a good player when he was at Brighton. So I think it'd be interesting to see. And this is obviously a later question: is once Tunisia get knocked out, does Tibali come straight back in? Given that Adingra is kind of taking his chance, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So I think that is a question mark for me. Adingra has also got more experience in the Premier League than Tibali. What do you think?
I think TV comes straight back into the team. I would disagree with one thing you said. I don't think it was a fair result. I think Leeds should have won that game, really. Yes, Sunderland likes to play counter-attacking football, but Leeds were all over them at times. I don't know
Yeah.
about Sunderland. When they're playing championship teams, they basically seem to have this mindset of like they're relegation fodder when playing relegation teams. So when they play Leeds and Burnley, they shit themselves. They're like, can't lose this game. We're all over it. What are we going to do? But then when they play like the Chelseas and people like that,
Okay,
they're
I
like,
see
oh
what you
yeah,
mean.
whatever. We'll just play like a Premier League team. It's really weird. I don't know why they're terrified. They're terrified of Championship teams. The Premier League teams they show no fear to. But anyway, Labrie, the manager, he likes workers. He's got a very solid system. Everyone's ready to be very industrious, work hard. Idingra is a flair player, a very good flair player, but a flair player nevertheless. He's not going to track back. He's not going to give his all for the team. Um, so he will lose. He will lose his spot fundamentally. Sunderland have done well this season based on being solid first and nicking goals on their counter attack. One thing that would be interesting for him is Robbie didn't have his best game. Mayenda, I think, was he on the
Hmm.
bench or is he? Mayenda was on the bench, so maybe he comes back in as an option. But maybe Dinger could come in as like a false nine or something like that. But again,
Yeah.
that's clutching at straws. I think Adingra, nice to have this little AFCON run, but he won't be in the Southern team for very long.
Okay, cool. And of course, Isidore didn't start. It seems to me
Mm.
that Bobby, is it his name? Bobby's got the number nine
Robbie, isn't
position.
it?
Robbie, yeah, nailed
Yeah,
down. I really like Isidore. I think he's a really interesting player, and I really wanted him to be the man, but it doesn't seem to be the case. So, is it a sell now for him? Do you think that it's just? I know that they were rotating around for different opponents. Maybe against Man City he plays, but then he played against Newcastle. Bobby. So again, another big game, high energy, needs someone to get forward. So, do you think it's a sell for Isidore?
especially when you have DCL, England's third choice striker, second choice striker, maybe going to the World Cup. Like it's 5-5 now for him. And today he looked really good. Sunderland were poor, do not get me wrong, but yeah, he just looks really good. As I mentioned last week, we are coming towards an era where you are going to need cheap players. So you do need to look at your Pots, your Reinders, your DCLs. But I think just DCL is you would just have him in even if he was what 7 million, 8 million. He just keeps scoring. And he is that player. He went on that run at Everton. He will then get injured and then never do anything again for 5 years. But that's the future's problem. Right now, enjoy this purple patch. Drink in the purple patch. I don't know why I haven't got
Yeah,
him yet. I'm too emotionally invested into Gokares. I
you're
think
too
that's my,
stubborn.
my problem as an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, well, we can come on to Gokares' performance a bit later, maybe. But DCL's goal, it kind of reminded me of a Jamie Vardy goal, um, and that gives me some good vibes in my chest. And so I believe in DCL. I believe he is on this hot streak, his run. We said this about Rodgers. We've said this about other players in the game, it seems to me, and again, it's a vibes pick, maybe, but it does seem to me that he's in that position now where he just needs to keep playing game after game after game and have his body used to the pain of it all, I suppose. But I think like when players get injured and they're off and they're out for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, it could seem a bit daunting, and there could be like a psychological barrier to get over there. But it seems that he's not only got over the barrier, he's smashed the barrier into a million pieces,
Yeah,
and is now beating defenders to a pulp. He's got Liverpool away next. I'm starting him. Like because Liverpool, I mean, they conceded against Wolves, so I mean, Jesus.
yeah.
I really like him as a pick. He's probably now up to 6 million. I think he's a definite buy, and I think because he's got that Jamie Vardy movement, could he have a Vardy season? I don't know. I mean, it would be outrageous if he did, but I think DCO's a buy, and I think Xhaka's also. If you don't own, I don't own Xhaka. I can't really bring myself to bring him in this week because he's got Man City, but he's going to get a billion defcons in that game. So maybe it's worth it. So I think Xhaka's a tick along for the whole season. He's still under 10% owned. Would you believe that?
Mm.
Like it's crazy. And just a nod to what you were saying there about Leeds. Leeds had an XG of 2 in this game. They really underperformed their XG. And Sunderland just made best use of their opportunity to score the goal. A nice finish as well, be worth saying. But yeah, so I'd say standout player is DCL and Xhaka. Adingra, I think you're right. Probably he is a temporary purchase because Tierney also scored. He scored in the Afcon, so I think he'll come straight back in, as you said. So let's move on, shall we?
Let's talk about another brilliant team in red and white, and that is Brentford. Up to 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's, I mean, let's just be frank, everyone's, including
Yeah.
myself, top picks of relegation. However, do I want to talk about them or do I want to talk about Bournemouth more? I actually want to talk about Bournemouth more. And every single week now, as a Bournemouth fan, your agitation must be growing and growing and growing. Everyone, myself included, and maybe I've been wrong about this, big sub Areola, sorry, he's starting to give off very much Vincent Company at Burnley vibes of like, I don't really care about the club. Like, I just want my reputation to keep growing and growing and growing, which he's done, to be fair. But the way they approach the game is just suicidal. Just all of Brentford's goals were very, very avoidable. Diakite's error, but like they play Ange Postecoglou high line. Even he must be looking at that going, lads, chill out a bit, drop a bit deeper. And they just don't have the players. Sensi, I know he gets defcons, but he's a very, very overrated player. Trofeo is good going forward. I don't even know who this Smith lad is who they had at right back, but he played terribly. They have too many Smiths ballers over the years. It's hard to keep track. And if we're being brutally honest, I did this with my mate, the Sunderland fan, the other day. We were comparing the Sunderland team and the Bournemouth team. You just go through, and if you're being brutally honest about the Bournemouth team, it's a very championship team. Other than Semenyo, who's gone in January anyway, who else would you say is absolute Premier League quality in that team? I don't know. Maybe Petrovic.
Scott.
I think he's been a bit unlucky to.
Tavernier.
Maybe
Kluivert. Petrovic.
Kluivert, yes.
Trufflet.
Kluivert, yeah. Kluivert.
Trufflet, I would say, is.
But is he?
I think Senesi is. I think Senesi is.
I don't know. I mean, look, the manager isn't going to change, and therefore Bournemouth are going to concede a lot every week. They've conceded 4 goals how many times now? I mean, Liverpool, Man U, and now this game, just on the top of my head. But I'm probably forget. Villa? Oh, there's the So what's that? How many games have we been into the season? How many? 17 or something like that? So 25% of their games, they're shipping 4 goals. That's
Sunderland.
terrible.
Sunderland, they lost. Sunderland, they shipped 4. I think,
Sunderland was only the 3 goals. They were 2-0 up. So yeah, they're shipping a lot of goals. And with Semenyo gone, yeah, you really, really do worry about them. West Ham are just so bad, but Burnley could start coming up. I think you have to. It is target Bournemouth in particular their defense. Thiago very unlucky, only get 5 points in that game. He should have got a lot more.
He should have hauled, yeah, yeah. And then the news about Semenyo as well is that apparently Bournemouth want him to stay until after the Tottenham game, so Man City can still trigger the release clause, which I think expires on the 10th of January. But apparently he's very keen to get it done 1st of Jan.
Mm.
And then after that, they've got Chelsea away next, and they've got Arsenal at home and us at home. Um, if Semenyo goes before that Arsenal game, I think those two games could be absolute disasters for them because Semenyo he is an elite player, and I think to lose a player of that standing, Arsenal will be going there with full of confidence, and I think even Spurs will go there with confidence, and that's saying something. So I think once Semenyo goes, it's target Bournemouth even more. I've got Semenyo and I've got Trufflet. I'm probably going to keep Trufflet for a bit because I can put him on the bench, no problem. Um, but yeah, once the menu goes, and yeah, I just don't really know what's going wrong with them. I think that the wheels have properly come off, and I think we've all kind of just gone, well, Ariola's a good manager, he'll get it back. But that Brentford game, they looked awful. I mean, Sade's too expensive. He's 7 million, but to get 20 points, it really says something. And yeah, like you said, Thiago should have got well over 10, 15 points, and I sold him, so I'm quite glad he
Yeah.
didn't.
When the manager comes out blaming the work rate of the team, that's when you really start to worry. That's an immediate like for the manager. Oh, it's
Really?
not.
Is that what he
It's not
said?
me. Yeah, yeah. Like he said, like they didn't. They said they worked hard in the second half, but they didn't work hard in the first. So when the managers
Wow,
come out blaming the players' effort, that is a very much a big like. Well, what do you
that's
want me to
bad.
do? I've done everything perfectly. The players aren't trying. So he's obviously rightfully so concerned about how things are going. But like they had an XG of 2.72, right? Versus Brentford's 3.33. So
Mm,
they I mean they're obtaining that. As I said, they're playing Ange ball
yeah.
without a good team, and as Ange found out pretty brutally at Nottingham Forest, that can go wrong. Brentford, Thiago, I think he's had his run, but I probably will sell him soon. I think their fixtures start to turn pretty soon. So no, actually, I
They
don't
got
like
one
any
nice
Brentford
fixture
players
left.
really. I can't remember the top of my head. They have. Oh yeah, they have you next. They have
Yeah,
Spurs
so they
next,
got
I think.
us.
So
They got us. Yeah, that's a nice fixture.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, they've got Spurs at home next, and then it's not brilliant after that from memory. Where Everton not ideal. And then they've got Sunderland at home. Yeah, I'll be selling Thiago for a DCL, or if I can afford it, an Ekitike or Watkins or someone like
Yeah, I think Thiago to DCL is probably the move, really. And if you find some sense, it's Gokeres to Ekitike. But maybe, and this is a great transition, and I've not even planned it. Maybe it could be Watkins instead. So let's talk about the Chelsea Watkins game, the Chelsea Aston
that.
Villa game.
Well, it was. The
Um,
commentator said Chelsea won, Ollie
yeah,
Watkins too, after all.
Yeah, it was a very interesting game. How Chelsea lost control of that game, it needs to be studied, it needs to be watched, it needs to be learned from. There will be scrolls in histories and ancient tablets that people will find in caves in centuries to come as to what the hell happened there because they were cruising in the first half, up until a few substitutions made by what seems to be the genius that Unai Emery is, which I never really saw coming, to be honest. Aston Villa just really not providing anything going forward. But then with those changes, suddenly they became bloody Barcelona 2012-13. But let's talk about Chelsea first. I think the headline is obviously Watkins comes off the bench and he wins it for them. Actually, fun fact for listeners and viewers, Villa have the most points from losing positions in the league. So maybe we shouldn't have been so surprised. Um, so yeah, on Chelsea, Garnacho started again, and he was getting in great positions. If you did have a 6.4 slot in your team, and you weren't needing to move that money around, and you didn't fancy quite going down to a 5.5, I really don't mind it if you were to go for him. He was getting into really good positions. He should have scored. He's creating lots of opportunities, putting really good balls into the box. I think he's a cheap way into Chelsea's attack. And you know, the points are coming for Garnacho. He's just a really annoying person, so I'm not sure whether I'd own him for that reason as well. Um, João Pedro's goal was probably one of the messiest goals of the season. It kind of came off his back, and he didn't even know anything about
Yeah.
it, and scored it. But obviously, James got the assist. Reece James and he scored as well. He seems to be Mr. Consistent. Again, another player with a bad injury record. Suddenly, playing really well. I really don't mind people investing in him. I had him, sold him. I regret it now. Painfully so. Thank you, Tommy C, yet again.
Hmm.
And Cole Palmer. He played 72 minutes. It looked very good, created lots of opportunities. He's probably not 100% back from his injury, so I wouldn't be going there, but I still think that switch from Saka is interesting. And I was going to ask you a question, and we can sort of slyly talk about the Arsenal game a little bit as well. Declan Rice is on corners. Declan Rice is getting lots of DEFCONs. Declan Rice can score some good goals, and when there are in certain positions, does get forward and does take shots. Could Declan Rice cover Saka in FPL?
Not so much could he. He already sort of has, right? I mean, so he's on around 20, well, 17
He's
points to be
second.
precise
He's
more.
second for midfielders, isn't he?
But what you've got to remember is that Saka was out for a lot, and Declan Rice has played every minute. Rice takes right-footed corner, Saka takes the other side. Um, I think if you need the money, I understand the switch, but let's be very frank. Saka is still the attacking outlet for Arsenal. Everything good in the Arsenal Brighton game was
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
through him. Again, unlucky not to get more
Mm-hmm.
points. He's going to get another big haul very soon. Essentially,
Yeah.
I would. I'm not selling Saka for Rice. If you need the money, as I said, if you want to, let's say you want a front three of Ekatike, Watkins, and Haaland, you're going to have to make sacrifices somewhere. Um, but no,
Yeah, yeah.
Saka is, as you said, doing Saka things. With Gabriel back as well, we're going to be much more solid as well. We've actually got hard games coming up, which I don't think is a bad thing with Saka. He gets DEFCONs in difficult games. So no, the short
Yeah.
answer is I'm keeping Saka. I don't intend on selling him. He is worth the 10 million, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I am leaning to agree with you, but I think like the way I view it is, would I sell Saka to Declan Rice so I could fund a move to Gabriel and keep Foden and have Semenyo, Haaland, Ekatike, and I don't think you can get to a Watkins, but DCL is fine, right? I think that's a pretty nice sort of selection of players. I think Semenyo probably I will sell soon anyway, because I think that once he goes, Bournemouth are going to fall apart, and I think you have to sell him when he's a fourth player into Man City. Eventually, I think you get one game week and then you have
You
to.
get one
I
game,
think
but yeah,
that's the
yeah,
rule. Yeah,
yeah.
so I'd have to move him on anyway, and I don't think he starts in for Man City to be fair initially. So I wonder whether like having a Declan Rice could, replace Saka and you go for the Arsenal defenders rather than their attackers. But yeah, I do agree with you. Saka will haul at some point. Maybe it's worth looking at both Saka and Rice. Is that
Yeah.
kind of something that's tempting for you?
I was just about to say, yeah, does it have to be either or? I would say double Arsenal defense isn't ideal
Mm,
given that they've got Villa, Bournemouth, Liverpool next. So that's all a big attacking threat.
yeah,
But then they
big games.
have
Yeah.
Forest, Man U, Leeds, Sunderland, Brentford, Spurs, Chelsea. It's not terrible for Arsenal defenders. You can see some DEFCONs there.
Mhm.
It will rest. I'll be very interested to see the back four. We'll know a lot more about Arsenal defensively again when we play Villa on the 30th. Obviously, very, very annoyed at our performance at Villa Park. We were terrible. There's going to be a big point to prove there. Will they prove it though? They could easily
I
crumble in
think so.
that
Yeah.
game, and therefore, it would be all be it's all over. But I think betting against Arsenal defense is very risky at this stage. I'm still gonna have an Arsenal
Mhm.
defender. I'll need to read up more on the Timber news and California and stuff like that. Henna Cafe just
Mhm.
doesn't like my deal, to be honest with you. But I think Mascara and people like that are coming back soon as well. Lewis Skelly could be an interesting one if you want a more attacking option. Let's getting into midfield. Um,
I,
don't overlook Arsenal defenders and don't overlook Saka.
yeah, I think I'm going to wait until after that Liverpool game before I buy an Arsenal defender. Just wait
That's
for that
smart,
kind
yeah.
of those news to come through. I think Gabriel coming off the bench at 70 is actually earlier than I thought, but I think it's because Brighton changed positions and did quite well, and Minter got rare to produce the save of the season. I think. But anyway, we weren't talking
Yeah.
about Arsenal. We were talking about Chelsea Villa. So let's go back to the game. Chelsea, yeah, I agree with you. We shouldn't go for Cole Palmer yet. I think Garnacho is interesting. Reece James, I think, is a buy. Um, and given the fact they got Bournemouth next, I think he's going to get a lot of joy. Villa, though, lots of interesting players there. So I've obviously got Rodgers, very happy with him. He should have got the assist for the goal, but because it rebounded off the keeper, it then goes down as a Watkins goal with no assist, which I think is bullshit, to be honest. Matty Cash got his fifth yellow card, so he's getting suspended for the Arsenal game. And actually, some interesting stats in this. So in the first half, Aston Villa had an XG of 0 and 3 touches in the opposition box. In the second half, it was 1 with 11 shots, 8 on target, 4 big chances, and 14 touches in the opposition box. So really strong second half performance there for them. And I was going to ask you a question about this as well, because obviously you've got a 9 million forward. Ekatike or Watkins? And before you answer, I'll give you the points difference over the last couple of game weeks. So for Watkins, it's been 13, 2, 5, 5, 12. But no 90-minute games. 0. Ekatike, 1, 13, 13, 9, 5. And 1 90-minute and 1 85-minute game. Which one would you go for?
TK. Ollie Watkins has just been too inconsistent this season. Ekatike has been a lot more consistent. Liverpool's run is a little bit more difficult, but they have Burnley, they have Fulham, they have Bournemouth, i.e. teams that are going to ship a lot of goals. So while Villa's fixtures are easier in terms of winning, in terms of goal scoring ability, Ekatike's is much higher, especially having Bournemouth there. So for me, it's actually a no-brainer. I would definitely go Ekatike. We can look back actually and see how that pans out. But yeah, it's got to be Ekatike. Or you could go for Gokras. That he's an option as well. Just to throw that out there as an idea.
I don't think he's an option. I saw some of the highlights of him, and he did look a bit like a donkey in this game. I mean, his biggest contribution, nearly getting Verbruggen sent off, to be honest. I won't poke the bear too much more. And given the fact we are in the middle of a hectic season, we were going to make this a short pod. So let's move on and go into our good, middling, and bankers for the next game week. So, Stephen, why don't you kick us off?
My banker is Neto at Chelsea. I would like it to be Cole Palmer, but his extra money means I've got to go to Neto. Neto, I think, is just going to start more than Garnacho. Esteval and Gittins, I think, are going to take Garnacho's place versus his. So he's my banker. My middling shout is, I've actually forgotten because my rogue shout is going to be Dorgu. So obviously he got that massive haul when I had him. All of the FPL community saying you're absolutely moronic if you chase those points and bring him. I disagree. Bring him in. It looks like he's going to be playing on the wing. Man U do have a pretty good run. So they've got Wolves next, Leeds, Burnley. They could easily keep clean sheets in that game, or Dorgu can do something. I think he's definitely worth a punt. And then who was one? I had a decent middling shout as well. I wasn't DCL. I'll come back to it. I had a decent middling shout, but forgot it out of my head. But yeah, Dorgu and Neto are my rogue and bankers. I remember it now. The man who's just scored 2 goals, both offside. But that is Richarlison, actually. Spurs have a decent run. Yeah, Spurs have a decent run. I think he's going to start being the starter again. They have Brentford away next. Sunderland, Bournemouth. Here's Bournemouth, West Ham, Burnley. Pretty coming up. That's really, really tasty as a forward. He played well. I'm being harsh on him. He's a little bit unlucky with the offside goals. He's my middling chap.
So, well, I've got a surprise for you. So my banker is Florian Wirtz, actually. I've gone for it. Look, you said it last week. Credit to you. And I did clip it up. I did put it on the Instagram. Wirtz looks like he is starting to find his feet. There's some nice highlight reels of him against Wolves. It is Wolves. They are a championship team. They will be there pretty shortly. But he looked good. He got the goal. He's 8 million. If you're looking to sell a Semenyo and you have extra cash, I think it's definitely a legitimate shout and something to go for. Um, we have been missing a Liverpool attacker in our team until obviously Ekitike's come along. But I do think he's going to nail down that midfielder slot. And it seems, as you said last week, that Slot has found his starting 11 almost by accident to a certain extent. But he's got his
Mhm.
starting 11 and works just very much in there, playing really nicely. He had a couple of other good chances in the game. Could have absolutely smashed this game week to
Yeah.
pieces. So I definitely will be looking at him if you can. My middling is Watkins. We mentioned him, obviously. I think the reason why he's middling is because we're not sure whether he's going to start sometimes with Milan playing and then him not getting the full 90. And even if he does start, he doesn't get the full 90. And with Europe and things like that, it's difficult really to judge where Villa will be. But again, I think there's a theme of hot streaks. DCL's on his, Ekatike's had his, Wilson had his. So could this be another hot streak in the making for Watkins and all of these boys really pushing for England starts and for international positions as well? And I think that's definitely adding some flavour to the way they're performing. And then my rogue shout, Stephen, is Richarlison.
Oh, there we
Absolutely
go.
unbelievable that we both thought about that. Yeah, look, two offside goals. He got the assist for Archie Gray's first Premier League goal. Congratulations to him. And yeah, look, with Xavi being suspended, he was able to play Moani and Richarlison. And I honestly think we looked a lot better. Now, Palace were
Mm.
pumping us at different points. I was watching the game and I was just like, they're definitely going to score any minute now, any minute now. And it just, with Mateta seemed to have lost his shooting boots, we got away with it a few times. Great ball for Porro for one of the offside goals for Rishi. But Rishi was causing all sorts of problems. So I do wonder whether Frank will look at that and go, actually, maybe I don't need to start Simmons all the time. Because he put Bergwall in there as well, and maybe they can alternate. But I think Moani is better as a winger, Richarlison in the middle. And then you've got Odegaard or Brendan Johnson on the other side. And then maybe Xabi Simmons or Bergwijn in the middle, and then you've got Archie Gray and Bentancur. I think that's probably going to be the front six going forward, or what I think the front six should be. And as a result, I think Richarlison is definitely a buy. But he's in my rogue shout because it's Tottenham, because we're shit, and because we're going to Brentford next, and we're going to get pumped 3-0, and then we'll be back in the doldrums. But if we do win that game, Stephen, we go up to 8th. What
There
crisis?
you go.
No
Flying.
crisis. um, but yeah, that's my thoughts for this game week. We're going to do another pod in between the New Year's break, something to listen to whilst you're hungover. I know that our voices is the ones you want to hear when you are in that state. In the meantime, don't make early transfers. Wait for the deadlines. Look out for those injury newses. And yeah, we will see you next week.
Thank you.